Hi, everyone. This is Ken Federnick, the host of Teacher Stories. Today, my guest is a teacher named Judi Briant. I learned about Judi when I read a book by Julie Hassan called Safe, Seen, and Stretched, and actually interviewed Julie several weeks ago about the book that was filled with moving stories about teachers and the impact they've had on their students. I think Julie and I are kindred spirits since we were both passionate about schools and teaching, and we've both been collecting teacher stories and sharing them in our own ways for several years now. Judi, since you were one of those teachers, we thought it would be great to have you on our show. So welcome to Teacher Stories.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, and maybe start with where you live and just describe your career as a teacher.
Okay, I live in the Tampa, Florida area. I've lived here for 42 years, but before that, I started my teaching career in Phoenix, Arizona, and then transferred down here when I did one of those long distance marriages. Anyway, I moved down here. I've taught high school English for I did teach high school English for 36 years. I was an English department head for 25 of those years, and even had 30 years at one school, which is really odd in today's world. I then taught college English for a few years, but spent 15 to 18 years teaching education courses in college so that I could help inspire the new rounds of teachers that were coming through.
So I'm sure that you're really passionate about English and the subject of teaching English. What is it that you think is like the most important thing that you try to get kids to learn about English? What is it that is really most important to you as a teacher?
Well, of course, I'd love to say the communication part is, and it is. Communication is vital. They have to learn how to communicate with their written word, with their spoken word, with their visual appearance. They have to learn everything about communication, and that's important to me. But I also wanted them to see values in life that are displayed through literature and through interpretations of literature, and to integrate those values into their own lives.
Like what sort of values would emerge and that are particularly important for you?
Integrity. And I know that it's one of those banned books now, but one of my favorite books of all time is To Kill a Mockingbird, because Atticus Finch, in fact, we even named an award for that. Our English department gave at our school the Atticus Finch Award, because he was a man of utmost integrity. And that's what I tried to put across with the kids, is how important that was and how cool it was in today's world to be super, super dependable and have integrity.
So is there a story that stands out to you, a student that you had that may have been particularly challenging at one point, but then there was a breakthrough? Or I'm sure you have so many stories from all those years, both at the college and high school level, but does one come to mind, a story of a teacher, of a student that you worked with?
I've had lots of students, who have impacted me, and I think that's the cool part about teaching, is I get the impact of them as well as they get the impact of what I'm trying to present. I think, and it had nothing to do with English, but the student who probably impressed me the most was a little girl named Susie, who was so introverted and would never establish eye contact with anybody in the class, not when she was in a group, not when she was listening to me, lecture, never. And so I stopped her one day and I said, we have a new rule, when she was coming in the classroom, and I said, you cannot enter my classroom without smiling at me. And so it took a while, and it took a long while actually, and the smile was there weeks before it reached her eyes. And finally it reached her eyes. She didn't become this great outgoing person or anything. She just smiled at me when she would come in and out of the classroom. The next year she was a senior, I'd see her in the halls and she'd do the same thing. But 2 years later, I was at the local community college waiting for an adjunct meeting, and I heard this, Dr. B, and I turned around and Susie was coming right at me. And I looked at her and she was a changed person. And I said, Susie, you have blossomed. I'm so proud of you. And she said, you know, all my teachers taught me lots of stuff and I learned lots of stuff, but you taught me how to smile. And I
Oh,
thought, you know, that touched me so much. I mean, I just cried, but anyway, in any event, the stories like that, you know, when you can get the kids to have an epiphany, when you can get them to see what they are capable of, or what the potential is for them, you can't match that in any other career.
yeah, that's right. Was there ever a teacher that you went back and thanked because of the impact that person had on you?
Actually, I did thank an English teacher for making me learn all the grammar, um, and for teaching me that I could teach grammar and make it fun. And that was something, because I've you know, I learned grammar in lots of classes and stuff, but to be able to create adventure out of teaching grammar, and so I did. I went back to my college and thanked Dr. Bryan for his help in that area. I'm not, I don't, it's been so long ago since I went to high school. I do remember a couple of coaches who taught me in high school, and we struggled with English, but in any event, I just, I loved my teachers. And I think that was like a speech teacher who insisted on values and insisted on language values, and only let us say positive things about people. I mean, it was just, there are lots of things that through the years made such an impact on me.
Yeah, uh, there are teachers that I had that I realized many years later what an impact they had, and I regret that I didn't go back and say something. And too often teachers don't hear from their students, sometimes just because the student doesn't think that it would matter, or they must know how appreciated they were. But I just, I want to tell you, we have something, it just so happens, we have someone waiting in the wings today that wants to say something to you. So I want to ask this person to come online, someone that wants to express their appreciation to you.
Oh, there's my girl. Hey,
And I'm
Laura.
going to bow
Hi.
out for a minute. So you guys, Laura has something to say to you.
Thank you so much for sharing that story about Susie. Like, I was sitting here crying, listening to it, because that's you. That's you, like, in a nutshell. And so when I was thinking about thanking you, I know you know how much I've looked up to you and appreciated your mentorship and your nurture basically throughout my entire life. But the bottom line, and I said it in Julie's book, but I don't think that you've heard it from my voice. I just want to thank you for seeing me. I think a lot of people saw me with their eyes, but you saw me with your heart, and you saw me with your mind, and you like tapped into my mind and heart because you saw me that way. And I was not blossoming. I was not a successful student as much as I could have been. And I needed so badly to be seen. And somehow you knew it and you saw me. And I'm so grateful to you.
Oh, I love you. You're so sweet. And you know what? I've watched you and your progress, of course, over the years, because I've been super interested in you. And when you get those Facebook kids who give you kudos and who talk about now they're teaching and they're using the same things that you inspired in them, and I think, hey, I'm the grandma, you know, I get to get part of that kudos too, you know. I'm the grandma.
Exactly. Exactly. I really think that I am the teacher I am because you were my teacher. You taught me that I could be cool and myself and brilliant and share that with people. I didn't know that until you were cool and yourself, you were feminine and you were intellectual. Your intellect was not a weapon, it was a door. And you showed me something that I just didn't know. And I think that hid in my heart for a long time. And then I got in front of a classroom and I realized, oh, now I know what she was doing. I can do that. And it was such a gift to me to be able to just like bring you along with me. So yes, you very definitely are the grandmother teacher in my life.
Thank you. Thank you. I really like that title. I really do.
Yeah, and you were talking about To Kill a Mockingbird, and I was thinking, oh yes, Atticus. My dog's name is Scout, straight from, and I couldn't name a dog Atticus because my best friend had a dog named Atticus at the time. So I have Scout, and like that novel lives in my heart, right next to The Great Gatsby, which I think taught me so much about myself. And when my students ask me, what is your favorite book? Gosh, I have a favorite this type of book and a favorite that type of book, and I have like 7,000 favorites, but I always go back to the one that made me who I am, that made me want to be an English teacher, is The Great Gatsby, and because I learned it at Judi Briant's hands.
I remember teaching it to you too. It was actually the first time I'd ever taught it when I taught you.
Look at that. And you inspired me so much.
I decided to rejoin the conversation, and what a wonderful gift you've given to Judi, and we were just talking about the importance of appreciating our teachers, and we don't always go back and do it. And I know that you, Julie, had written the story, and I appreciated what you said. I don't know that Judi had heard the words spoken from you, so I think that was cool that you're able to do that.
I'm very, very super proud of Laura.
Thank you.
What was Laura like do you remember what she was like when you first had her? And any stories come to mind about what it is that you actually saw in her? Because what I got from Laura was that she really felt seen by you.
I think I do remember, because I've stayed in touch with her and I've gone back through memories over the years. I do remember her writing, and I saw a gift in her writing. Everybody can write, but not everybody's gifted, and not everybody has the ability to pull from inside like Laura did, and organize it the way Laura did. And I saw that and I thought, wow, she can really write. She needs to do something with that writing. So, she's done lots of things. She's graded lots of papers with that writing.
True. I've graded a lot of papers. I've written just volumes of poetry and stories. I've entered a couple contests. I've published a tiny little bit, and I've taught kids to write. I taught at my school. I started the creative writing program. They didn't have it when I got there. And so I did that for like 20 years. And so I have pulled people along, to be writers and to find their voices. And I agree with you, like there's a natural talent, and then there's also a deep well in everyone. We all have stories.
Absolutely.
Laura, is there a student you've had that comes to mind who you've seen something in, just like Judi saw in you, and where it had an impact on their life?
Yes. Gosh, I could name so many. And so that's the beauty of teaching now versus when you were teaching, Judi, is I'm in touch with so many of my students.
Yes.
We get to stay in touch in a really cool way and celebrate each other's successes. I have a couple of students who I saw just the depth of resilience and talent. And one of them, her name is Emily, she became a teacher, and she's probably one of the ones you've read about. And Emily was the hardest worker. And I don't think that I ever worked in my entire life as hard as Emily worked when she was in my class, because she wanted to be great. And she had that well in her. She had that talent, and she just needed someone to say, hey, you've got it, let's go. And so there's definitely Emily. And then I have another young woman named Jordan, who I recognized the minute she walked in my classroom. classroom as almost like a twin spirit. I understood her, she understood me. I think I taught her 5 times throughout high school, and she's actually working on her PhD in psychology right now, so lots of writing, and a beautiful, brilliant writer as well.
And that's that love that you can see from Laura. That's what comes across to the students. That's why they take her 5 times for courses. Yeah. She does. She loves her students. I see it all the time when I see the Facebook responses, and when I've actually taught a couple of students in college and education courses who came from her class and said, "Oh, she is an awesome teacher." So, you know, I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. It's that love, it's that joy, it's that excitement, and she has them all.
Well, I just want to thank both of you for being part of Teacher Stories. We're going to promote this story as soon as it's ready, and but we're especially going to promote it during Teacher Appreciation Week, which is coming up in a few weeks, and so lots of people will get a chance to see it. And I'm hoping what it does is it reminds people to reach out to the teachers they've had that made a difference in their lives. I just can't imagine a more important time to be doing that, given what we've all been through, but teachers and students and parents in particular going through COVID and dealing with masks and online learning and resistance to masks, and all the, you know, and having to be at home and not having the normal continuity of one class to another. It's just such an important time to be sharing these stories of appreciation for the teachers that have made a difference in our lives. So Teacher Story listeners, again, if there's a teacher or a few teachers that have changed your life, or even one that you have now, I want to urge you to reach out to them, let them know that you appreciate what they did for you. You can also go to the appreciations page on the Teacher Stories website. That's teacherstories.org. Hundreds of other students and even some parents have done, and submit a written appreciation for the teacher, for that teacher to see and the whole world to see. And I think it'll be really a wonderful thing that they would appreciate. So thanks again to my guests, Judi and Laura. So long, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you.
I love you.